Hello, this is Dr. San Abdullah with the course Web Applications Programming, and we are at the lecture 15I, and we are basically creating dynamic web application. And in this video, I'll show you how to create graphs. And of course, the sky is the limit. There are many types of graphs, and we will restrict ourselves to a histogram or a frequency distribution. I will explain it to you what it is. So what we'll be doing is creating a histogram, and how does a histogram differs from a bar chart. So you are used to bar chart basically. So what a bar chart does is that it draws rectangles, right, and the height of the rectangle corresponds to the certain value. So as you can see over here, that this is the name of the cities and these are the numeric values. And the convention is that when the bar chart is made, there are gaps between these bars, so that's why it's called a bar chart also. And it's pretty straightforward. So in this video, I'll show you how to create a histogram chart. So the histogram basically gives a frequency count that hey, how many times certain thing occurs within the certain range, and that range is the bin, right? So these are numeric ranges, and in a bar chart we have categories. So there's a big difference. So the x-axis in bar chart is the category, and the x-axis in a histogram are numeric values. Of course, the y-axis are numeric values. So what is the purpose of what I'll be showing you is adding another feature in this histogram. And as you can see that if you increase or decrease the size of the bin, for example, the size of the bin over here is 0 to 20. So if I make it 0 to 30, then some parts of these values are going to fall into this, right or not, and some are going to reduce from here. So we'll be adding a kind of a dynamic functionality with which we can increase or decrease the width of the bin, and that helps a lot in analysis of data. So what we'll be doing in this video is to look at which I will explain to you the working of the code. So the code consists of different parts, as you can see. So first is the PHP array column. So what I've done here is that already added the data in the file or in the PHP file, but you are expected to load the data from a database, right? Okay, so that you should bear in mind. And then is the JSON encode. So since we are reading from the data, so we need to from the file. So we want to make a JavaScript read from that data. So the format is set to JSON. Then is the HTML canvas provides a placeholder for the histogram. So where we are going to place the histogram and what we want to show on the histogram, and it should be centered and so on. And then is the input type range allows interactive bin size adjustments. That's the interesting thing. So I'll give you a slider, so to say, and with that slider you can slide and change the size of the bin, and you can see that dynamically the histogram would change. And then is the JS update, calculates bin ranges and renders the histogram. So we will use a library of we will call a certain library, and that library will do the drawing and all of things for us, so we don't have to worry about it. But of course you need to understand the different parameters so as to make the histogram as per your liking and requirement. And then that is chart.js. So that's a library. So, and before actually I go and demonstrate that tool to you, so to say. So this is the database which we'll be looking at, and the contents of this database may not exactly match with the histogram, okay, because they have been changing because of the demonstration and the example codes. So now we move on, and you can also move on to the coding part, okay. And now I'll first of all I'll show you the working of that histogram kind of a tool, and then we'll discuss the code. So here's the histogram with the slider which we just discussed, and this histogram is based upon the student IDs for the table which I just showed you. So these are the student ID ranges. This is not a good measure. Student ID ranges, they don't carry much information, but just to give you an idea of the concept. Good measures could be, for example, the age of the students, their GPA, or salary of the employees, years of experience, age, and so on. Those could be good measure, or their combinations also. So now the bin size is set at 200. You can see. So if I move the mouse pointer, it gives the values also. Anyway, so if I move this right slider, right, then the histogram changes dynamically. It's very nice. Now, from the analysis point of view, we see that there is a whole grouping of student IDs in this range, and then there is at this range, and you can see. Now, what's going to happen from the analysis point of view is that when we decrease the bin size, then we'll have finer detail. So if I reduce the bin size to up to 150, there is not much change. The shape and the general location is almost the same. Here's the first change. So here's the first change with that column over that histogram kind of splits. And if I further reduce it, then of course it does not split. So that's one size which gives certain amount of information. Okay, that was 130. Now, if I further reduce it, I take it to like 70 or even less, then there's a change. And when I take it to 30, then we see that the splitting is more obvious. So this gives a more detailed kind of analysis. So from a analytics point of view, that is very useful. And from a data science point of view, also you can create such tools as per the requirement. So now we look at the coding. So here's the students' data loaded into the array, and this data basically is taken from the database, and this is the PHP page, and this is the JSON encoding which I mentioned, and SID is the student ID, and chart.js is the library which is used to create this histogram. You can create other charts also, a bar chart or a line chart or radar chart. So it's up to you. And these are the parameters. This is for the watermark and how it's going to be placed and how it's going to be displayed. So these styles we are going to refer and use when we draw the chart. Okay, and then is the watermark here. This is the watermark, and then we are setting the bin size. Okay, because that bin size, it has a lot of value, and this bin size basically we have a slider with which we can update the histogram. So bin size is critical here, and this over here are the information which is related to the axis. So this is the background colors, right? uh, and this is the border width. You can see them, nothing to explain here. And then of course how it's going to be displayed, and this is the event listener which is looking at the dynamically generated and created and set bin size. So this fairly is not very critical, but you should get used to and understand it. And of course these sizes do matter, that what should be the size of the histogram, and where it should be placed, what should be the canvas size, and so on. So that's all. And I wish you all the success. Thank you very much.